everybody. I'm Mark.
I'm Lily.
And together we are Millie Productions. We're back with a whole new video regarding survival tips for the quarantine. Now, for those of you who haven't been following the news lately, basically it's still unclear of when this whole quarantine thing is going to end. So basically for those of you who are just progressively getting stir crazy about this whole thing, we've got a few tips prepped for you to, kind of make your experience with it a lot easier. So, without further ado, shall we begin?
Okay.
You sound so, disturbed.
You disturb me.
I'm enthusiastic, okay? Let me have this.
Just go into your tip.
Fine. Alright, tip number 1. We're working remotely. Now, I know that doesn't sound much like a tip, but hear me out, okay? For those of you who were lucky enough to, keep your jobs during the quarantine as long as it's remote work, kudos for you guys. You guys are still putting in the work where you can. However, it's also a suggestion for those of you who aren't working right now. There are so many jobs out there that have switched gears and are offering remote work to anyone who is willing to put in the time. I would know. I've been on several in the past, and they have them out there. So don't get discouraged if you were let go from a previous position. If you're looking for work, definitely go with the remote option, because it's out there and the employers over there are waiting for you. Another thing, if you're working remotely and you have kids,
good luck.
Good luck. Hang in there. It's gonna be okay. Alright, and now, speaking of okay, Lily, would you do the honors of the next tip?
Sure. Another thing you could do is find a new hobby or a new old hobby. In the previous video we did, I talked about how I've really gotten into baking again, and it's just been something very cathartic, something that takes my mind off of the stress, craziness of this world. Anything you used to like to do or something you've always wanted to do but just kept putting it off, I would suggest trying it and see if you enjoy it, because it's very stressful whether you have lost your job or your job has switched completely to remote, or you're a healthcare worker and your life is just very, very stressful right now, no matter what you're doing in terms of work. Finding a hobby that has nothing to do with anything productivity related, you might find helpful.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of productivity, that brings us to our third tip, and that tip regards fitness and health. Now, for those of you who didn't see the last video, I mentioned that I'm big into fitness. This is so true that as soon as this quarantine began, I raided just about every single Walmart nearby to grab as many weights as humanly possible. Sure, that put a massive dent in my wallet and I'm still recovering from it, but it's an investment that, I will be reaping the rewards from in the near future. But as far as fitness is concerned, I know there are a lot of you out there who have had gym subscriptions and whatnot, but don't get discouraged just because they're closed, okay? There are plenty of things that you can do at home, and not even at home, but just outside. You can always do cardio, a little bit of cardio. You can run around your neighborhood, or you could run in place. I do that a lot in the mornings, so much so it's disturbed my neighbor recently. Really interesting story there. But anyway, yeah, and not only cardio, but there are also other things aside from weights that you can use. Just recently, Lily and I uncovered resistance bands. And I know for those of you who are really big into fitness, you're just resistance bands aren't new. But for those of you who didn't know about them before, they're out there and they work just as well as regular weights do. So I highly recommend those if you're looking for exercise with a little bit of resistance. And what is fitness without a little mention of health in there? Just because it's a quarantine doesn't mean you get to binge on snacks and other junk food.
What?
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry, but That's the reality. Yeah.
What about cookies?
Well, you make an exception for that with your baking. But...
I have a weakness for cookies. It's real bad.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, health. So, with health, you just have to remember you're still trying to maintain whatever state your body is in. Okay, whether you're super bulked up or you're like me, you're more lean. You just want to make sure that you're eating all the right things still. And grocery stores haven't stopped selling leaner meats and healthier foods. So, just, stick with your local grocery store and get what you need.
There's no shortage on fruits and vegetables.
Oh no, those things are in high supply right now. So yeah, just make sure you guys are still eating what you need to be eating and you'll be okay.
And speaking of healthy choices,
oh boy,
you can also binge watch a lot of things on Netflix, Hulu, or whatever.
How is this a healthy choice?
Well, it's healthy depending on how you do it.
Oh,
so, I mean, you can obviously binge, for enjoyment and entertainment purposes. Like Mark and I just finished Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Amazing show, hilarious.
So funny.
But you can also, if you find that you are just not in the right headspace to read or write or whatever you typically do to learn new things, it might be a good time to look into documentaries. There are tons of documentaries available. I'm pretty sure there are documentaries even like on YouTube for free that you can watch. That's just something that you can do to help you get back into your learning mode. Like I recently watched the docudrama Waco on Netflix.
Oh, that one was a killer. I mean, my gosh, I came in on the third episode and I was hooked and then I was mad. I was left mad.
So yeah, you can watch a lot of things that are educational, but you can also watch a lot of things for the story and characters. Now is the time. You now have the time to watch everything you wanted to watch.
Yeah. Take advantage of it while you can. And speaking of taking advantage of something, for those of you writers out there, now is the time, okay? For those of you who really enjoy writing, I know for me personally, this has been a great opportunity for me to catch up on writing in my novels. For those of you who didn't see the last video, I mentioned that I'm writing a bunch of science fiction novels right now, and honestly, if it weren't for this quarantine, I definitely would not have considered taking my series in the direction that it's currently in. Just something about people being isolated that's just, I don't know, giving me like a whole new look on where I want to take it. And not all of you might be into writing science fiction or writing at all, but the whole aspect of isolation has probably impacted you in some way or form. And, if there's no other way for you to, get out all of these pent-up feelings regarding it, there's always writing. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be like the George R.R. Martin masterpiece. It just has to be something from the heart and something that you can be proud of later. And I guarantee you, it will help you in the long run.
And also, in tandem with writing, you can also read. As I said in the previous video, I am getting my MFA in creative writing, so naturally I have to read a lot for school. I'm currently reading books for my thesis, but I've also taken this quarantine time to read books that don't pertain to my thesis, to kind of get out of my own head and just enjoy a book. So I just finished Little Fires Everywhere. I also watched the miniseries on Hulu. Both are very good, but both are very different. Book is better, though, in my opinion.
Well, the book is always better.
Okay. But yeah, and if you, like I said, during this time, a lot of people who are very used to being extremely productive and reading a lot of books or whatever, you may find that you're a little slower to do things because you're worried about, whatever is the most pressing matter in your mind right now. And I completely understand. I've been there. So what I try to do is try to say, okay, I'm going to finish like a chapter a day, or I'll finish a couple of chapters in this sitting. And so I do that, and I did that with Little Fires Everywhere, and then by the second day I got completely sucked into the book, and I ended up finishing it that day. So yeah, but if you have those micro goals, you'll eventually reach the macro goal of finishing the book or finishing whatever project you need to get done. So if you are struggling with productivity, starting small and just being consistent with those small steps will eventually lead you to completion.
Yeah, I definitely need to follow that tip. I have been sucking royally with reading lately.
You really have.
I'm sorry. There's just a lot going on up here right now.
No, there's not. There's just like the theme song to Star Wars.
Next step. Okay, the next tip is in regard to money. Now, I know that this quarantine has really taken its toll on a number of you guys out there. Some of you have been furloughed from your jobs. Others have been, or have had to take pay cuts because of budgeting and whatnot. But just know, you're not alone in all of this. It's hard for all of us to some degree, to some capacity. And it will get better. You just have to hang in there and stay strong, especially for those who are looking up to you guys.
Yeah, and also this might be a good time if you are either out of work right now or struggling with work. It might be a good time to look into other avenues of income, like I mentioned, the hobby that you could pick up. It could turn into a small business or something freelance. Like if you're good at sewing, maybe you could, start making masks for people.
Those are big right now.
Yeah, it's just if you can think of a way that you can help people during this time and you can also earn an income by it, I would strongly suggest you just go with that. Even if you are doing great with your job, having a little extra money never hurt anyone.
Yeah, and like what I said before, remote work is always an option. Just go out there and find it. Oh boy. Next tip is all you, Lily.
Oh yeah. Well, if you are like me, you are a foodie and you like certain foods that you cannot easily acquire during this quarantine, like sushi or pho.
All the expensive stuff, basically.
Shut up. So what I've been doing recently is I downloaded like this food ordering app. Changed my life forever. Made quarantine so much more enjoyable. So once a week I like to order from this app. And I like to try to stick with like a small business. Like there's this Chinese food place that Mark and I get food from, and so we ordered from there recently, and then there's this pho place that I've ordered from. So it's a way for you to, get yourself to treat yourself, because you've probably been just making food this whole time, and so I understand getting tired of your own cooking. So it's a way to treat yourself, but it's also a way to help businesses and the economy. So if you are able to try to order some food, and I like to, like I said, have a designated day to order this food because it helps with my budget, and it's just also something I can look forward to at the end of each week.
Yeah, and speaking of looking at things at the end of each week, that brings us to the next tip. Looking in on family and friends. Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking. I live alone and I'm away from my family. They would drive me crazy if I was over there. Well, just think about it this way. Nobody knows when this pandemic is going to reach its end. And with all the cases that have been out and about, no one really knows if you're okay, or vice versa. These guys are just as freaked out about this as you are, and sometimes they just need a little bit of reassurance, and that reassurance could be just a phone call or a visit from you. I know that we have a friend of ours who calls us pretty regularly, and he's really stir crazy and freaked out over this whole thing. But we really do appreciate that he calls us, because it lets us know that he's all right, and it lets him know that we're all right, and that we're there for him if he ever needs some assistance. And the same goes for our families. Like we visit my family semi-regularly with this whole quarantine. And
everyone's quarantining, so it's not
yeah.
We're not breaking any rules.
Yeah. No rules broken. But anyway, my family and us, ultimately have gotten so much closer because of this whole thing. It's given my parents reassurance that, me and Lily are okay, and ultimately it's given us the chance to introduce them to things that they've never known about before. We introduced them to streaming not too long ago, and it's been crazy ever since.
Yeah, they're a bit old. Don't put that in there.
I'm sure they will appreciate all of your commentary regarding their age.
They're wonderful people.
They are indeed wonderful, but according to Lily, old is sin.
You started that.
I didn't start
Yes,
that. You started and finished that.
Oh, whatever.
But yeah, check in on your friends and family. They need you as much as you need them. And that leaves us to the last tip of this video. It's been quite a journey. But, like with this quarantine, this too shall pass. And what we mean by that is...
just that, there have been plagues before, there have been pandemics before, world crises before. Obviously nothing quite like this current situation, but time and time again, human history has risen up to the challenge, and we've been able to overcome things. So just know that it's temporary, and we will get past it, even if, things are completely different after this whole quarantine, like new rules, regulations. We have a way to, we're very adaptable beings, so we'll be able to figure out our normal in the new world, or our place in the new world, and jobs will slowly start coming back, and we'll be able to figure out what we can do in order to survive and then thrive.
Exactly. And also, if you follow all of these other tips, you'll be surviving and thriving already.
Mm-hmm.
And so, without further ado, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to send us some comments on your thoughts about the video, or opinions on what else can be done for survival during this quarantine. What have you guys been doing to survive during this whole thing? We really want to know. And like before, make sure that you check us out on our individual Instagram pages, and let us know what else you would like to see on this channel. We're always open to suggestions. And with that, I'm Mark.
I'm Lily.
And until next time,
Bye.
bye.